The platform at King's Cross Station buzzed with the usual mix of excitement, tears, and last-minute goodbyes. But for Albus Severus Potter, it felt like a slow descent into something unknown. The scarlet engine of the Hogwarts Express hissed, like a slumbering dragon, and the bright gleam of sunlight reflected off its windows. But the world around Albus seemed quieter than it should be. "Are you ready?" Harry asked, crouching down beside his youngest son, his hand gently squeezing. His shoulder, Albus bit his lip. "Dad, what if they put me in Slytherin?" Harry's eyes didn't waver. There was no hesitation, only warmth and understanding. "Albus Severus Potter," he said slowly. "You were named after 2 headmasters of Hogwarts. One of them was a Slytherin, and he was probably the bravest man I ever knew. But I don't want to disappoint you." Harry smiled. "If it really means that much to you, the Sorting Hat takes your choice into account. You can choose Gryffindor." The whistle blew, and the doors opened. Albus looked back once more, the concern still lingering in his chest. Then, with a deep breath, he stepped aboard. Inside the Bull train, he wandered the corridors until he found an empty compartment. Or so he thought. "Hi," came a soft voice. "I'm Scorpius Malfoy." Albus hesitated for a moment, then slid the door shut behind him. Albus Potter. Scorpius blinked. "Like Harry Potter?" Albus nodded awkwardly. Scorpius looked away for a moment, then said, "Do you think, even if our fathers were enemies, we could still be friends?" Albus smiled, the tension lifting just a little. "I think we already are." They laughed, and in that moment, something rare and honest passed between them. A connection that would defy expectations, bloodlines, and ancient rivalries. The Great Hall looked just as magnificent as the stories had told. Floating candles, starlit ceiling, long house tables. The Sorting Hat, worn and frayed, sat on a stool waiting for the new students, Potter Albus. A hush fell over the room as Albus walked nervously to the front. The Sorting Hat was placed on his head, and he heard the voice. Old, wise, and amused. "Oh, another Potter, are you? But you're different, very different. I see ambition, fear, but also loyalty, and a heart that's full of doubt." Albus's whisper was frantic. "Please not Slytherin, please." "Oh, but why not?" the Hat mused. "You could be great, you know. I see potential. Still, you do have a choice." There was a pause, and then, "Slytherin!" The hall erupted with whispers. Albus stared blankly, his legs trembling as he made his way to the Slytherin table, where Scorpius clapped the loudest. Later that night, alone in the dormitory, Albus lay awake, staring at the ceiling. The silence of the room was oppressive. Somewhere, deep in his heart, a storm was beginning to stir. What had the Hat seen in him? And why did it feel like his destiny had shifted the moment those words were spoken? He didn't know it yet, but forces far darker than schoolyard gossip were moving, and his name, his bloodline, and his choices would all come under fire. Days that followed Albus's sorting passed in a strange haze. He tried to settle into Slytherin, the green and silver common room hidden beneath the lake, the subtle pride and cunning and ambition, the cold stone walls that whispered with centuries of secrets. But no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't shake the glances. He's Harry Potter's son, right? In Slytherin? That's weird. It's because of his mother. She was in Gryffindor, but you know how these things skip generations. None of it stung more than James's smirk across the Great Hall. His older brother had been sorted into Gryffindor, a star on the Quidditch team, and a favorite of nearly every professor. But now, all eyes were on the younger Potter, and not in admiration, Only Scorpius seemed untouched by it all. If anything, the boy with platinum blonde hair had learned to live with whispers. "You get used to it," he said with a shrug, one afternoon in the library. "Everyone thinks my dad was a Death Eater, that I'm some dark heir or whatever. Aren't you?" Albus joked. Scorpius smirked. "Only at night when the moon's full." They laughed together, but something unspoken lingered. A growing shadow that neither of them fully understood yet. One night, a strange dream visited Albus. He stood in a dim corridor lined with tall mirrors, each reflecting not his image, but twisted versions of himself. In one, he wore dark robes and held a wand high, people bowing before him. In another, he lay crumpled on the ground, forgotten and alone. At the end of the hall was a figure in black, tall, imposing, face hidden in shadow. It raised a hand and whispered, "When the cursed child kills the father, the Dark Lord shall return." Albus awoke with a gasp. His sheets were soaked in sweat. The image of the shadowy figure haunted him even after the morning light poured into the dormitory. In defense against the dark arts, Professor Chang was teaching about magical artifacts too dangerous to be left in public hands. When she brought out a replica of a time turner, the room grew still. "These objects can tear the fabric of time," she said. "They were destroyed for a reason. Time does not like to be played with." Scorpius raised his hand. "But weren't there rumors about one being found? My dad said the ministry covered something up." Professor Chang gave him a sharp look. "Some things are better left buried, Mr. Malfoy." Albus turned to Scorpius after class. "What did your dad really say?" Scorpius lowered his voice. "There was one. A prototype the ministry recovered after the battle at the department. Of mysteries. It could go back further than any before it. But my father says it disappeared. And some think it wasn't destroyed." Albus felt a chill. The dream, the whispers, the legacy of the past. It was all pointing towards something buried, something unfinished. And it wasn't just whispers and dreams anymore. That night, while leaving the Great Hall, a piece of parchment floated into Albus's path. No one else seemed to notice it. He picked it up. Scrawled in jagged ink were just a few lines. "When the spare is saved and time is turned again, beware the daughter of the dark, for only she knows the end." "Who?" Albus whispered. But he already knew. This wasn't over. It had just begun. The next morning, Albus could hardly focus during his lessons. The mysterious parchment weighed heavily in his robe pocket, its strange warning repeating in his mind like a haunting echo. "When the spare is saved, and time is turned again." He wanted to show it to Scorpius, but something stopped him. It wasn't fear, it was something else, as if the note itself was meant only for him. After dinner that evening, while the other Slytherins were lounging, in the common room, Albus slipped out and climbed the stairs toward the astronomy tower, the one place he knew would be empty, except it wasn't. Scorpius stood there, arms folded, eyes on the stars. "You didn't show me the parchment," he said without turning around. Albus blinked. "How did you—" "I saw it fall. I just figured you'd bring it up when you were ready." Albus handed it over. Scorpius read the lines, his brow furrowed. "The daughter of the dark," he muttered. "Who do you think that is?" "I don't know, but I think it's connected. To my dream, the mirrors, the shadow." Scorpius nodded. "Time is turning again. That sounds like a time turner, doesn't it?" Albus didn't answer. He reached into his bag and pulled out something else, an old, worn piece of parchment that once belonged to his father. Messrs. Mooney, Wormtail, Padfoot, and Prongs present. The Marauder's map. "Still works?" Scorpius asked, peering over his shoulder. Albus tapped it with his wand. "I solemnly swear that I am up to no good." The ink spread rapidly, revealing the winding corridors of Hogwarts and the tiny moving names of those walking them. Then suddenly, something odd appeared. Delphini. She was in the forbidden section of the library, a place students weren't allowed without written permission from a professor. "Who's Delphini?" Scorpius asked, frowning. Albus didn't answer. He didn't know, but the name felt heavy, like an echo from the past. "Let's go," he said. They crept through Hogwarts under the invisibility cloak Albus had smuggled from his father's study over the summer. They passed moving staircases and dozing portraits, slipping past a nearly snoozing Filch with his squinting cat. When they reached the library, the doors were cracked open just slightly, and soft candlelight flickered within. They eased inside, careful not to make a sound. Among the dusty tomes, they saw her, a girl with black hair streaked with silver, dressed in dark robes, standing before a locked cabinet. She looked no older than them, maybe 5th year, but something about her presence felt ancient. She whispered something and the lock clicked open. Before Albus could stop himself, he stepped forward. A floorboard creaked. The girl turned sharply. Her eyes gleamed in the candlelight, a cold silver, like frost. "You shouldn't be here," she said. "Neither should you," Albus replied. "You're Harry Potter's son," she said, as if tasting the words. "I've been waiting for you." Scorpius stepped forward. "Who are you?" She tilted her head. "My name is Delphini, but that's not what matters." She held up a book, a thick, black-bound volume with the crest of the House of Black etched in silver. "What matters is blood, and prophecy, and the fact that I am what your parents never told you about." She stepped forward, candlelight dancing on her pale face. "I'm the daughter of Bellatrix Lestrange and Lord Voldemort." The room fell into a suffocating silence. Albus stared at Delphini, unable to speak. Scorpius backed a step away, his face pale and drawn. The flickering candlelight danced across Delphini's features, casting eerie shadows that seemed to belong to someone far older, far darker. "You're lying," Albus finally managed to say, though the words rang hollow in the air. Delphini only smiled, a thin, cold smile. "I don't need to lie. The truth is powerful enough." She set the black book down gently on the desk. The title shimmered faintly. Heirs of the Serpent, the forbidden lineage of the dark arts. Albus picked it up. Inside were faded entries, handwritten notes, and blood-stained pages chronicling the descendants of dark wizards, including a hidden section about Bellatrix Lestrange and a secret pregnancy, concealed during the final year of the war. "It can't be true," Scorpius muttered. "No one ever mentioned—" "Because they buried it," Delphini snapped. "Your fathers, the ministry, they all knew. I was born in secret, raised in silence, forgotten." She took a deep breath, steadying herself. "But not anymore." Albus glanced at the time-turner she had hidden in the folds of her robe, a delicate hourglass glimmering with enchanted light. "That's how you plan to do it, isn't it?" Albus said. "You're going to change time." Delphini stepped closer. "No, I'm going to restore it." Scorpius stepped forward now, voice firmer. "You think going back and saving Voldemort will fix anything? You'll only make things worse. Time-turners, they break reality." Delphini's eyes burned with a mix of fury and pain. "You don't understand. The prophecy speaks of a cursed child, me, the daughter, the spare who was meant to rise after the father's fall." She drew a wand, black, smooth, and unfamiliar. "You don't have to fight me. Join me. Help me correct the betrayal your parents left behind." Albus shook his head. "Even if what you say is true, he was a monster. You want to bring that back?" Delphini's expression darkened. "He was power. He was legacy. He was mine." Without warning, she pointed her wand at the Marauder's map and muttered a curse. The parchment burst into flames, consumed in seconds. Albus lunged forward, but it was already gone. "Your father's past can't help you now," she whispered. Suddenly, a noise from outside the library doors. Footsteps, fast and heavy. "Professor McGonagall," Scorpius hissed. "We have to go." Delphini didn't flinch. "We'll meet again, Albus. The threads of time are already unraveling." She turned the time turner once, twice, and vanished in a flash of swirling gold and wind. Albus stood frozen, breathing hard. "Heart pounding? What the hell do we do now?" Scorpius asked. Albus looked at the empty space where Delphini had stood, the burning embers of the map still glowing faintly on the desk. He clenched his fists. "We find out where she's going, and we stop her." Nightfall had cloaked Hogwarts in a velvet hush. The stone corridors were empty, the paintings asleep, and the stars above shimmered over the black lake like scattered spells. But deep within the shadows of the forbidden forest, two silhouettes moved swiftly beneath the gnarled trees. Albus Potter and Scorpius Malfoy had snuck out under an invisibility cloak, not Harry's, but a replica, charmed by Rose Weasley and barely functional. They had no choice. After Delphini's disappearance, they needed answers fast, and there was only one place left to find them. "Are you sure the centaurs will even speak to us?" Scorpius whispered. Albus nodded. "If anyone knows of disturbances in time or magic, it's them!" A twig snapped behind them. They froze. A deep voice echoed through the forest. "You walk in dangerous woods, sons of wizards!" From the thickets stepped Firenze, his silver mane glistening in the moonlight, his eyes full of ancient sorrow. "We need your help," Albus said quickly. "Something's happening. Time is shifting. A girl named Delphini. She's using a time turner." Firenze's expression turned grave. "The stars have whispered her name." Albus leaned in. "Then you know who she is?" "She is the Shadow Child," Firenze said. "The flame born in darkness. She was never meant to live in this timeline. And yet, she has returned to claim what she believes is owed." Scorpius stepped closer. "Is there a prophecy?" Firenze gazed up at the sky, the leaves rustling overhead. "Yes, an old one, buried by the Ministry long ago. It speaks of a daughter born in secrecy, who walks between fate and vengeance. If the cursed child turns the hourglass thrice, the Father of Night shall rise again." Albus felt a chill pass through him. "That's what she's doing. She already used the time turner once. She could be in the past right now." Firenze looked straight into Albus's eyes. "Then your time is short. If she succeeds, your world will not become dark. It will become unwritten." "But how do we follow her?" Scorpius asked. "We don't have a time turner." Firenze hesitated, then turned and led them deeper into the woods. They reached an ancient tree stump, glowing faintly with runes. Many years ago, before the Ministry banned their use, a time turner was hidden here, shattered, its power broken. But even broken magic holds fragments of truth. He reached into the stump and pulled out a crystal shard, faintly humming with blue light. "This will show you her path, not take you there, but reveal when she has changed something. You must be ready to act when the signs appear." Albus took the shard, his fingers tingling from its magic. "We will," he promised. Firenze looked to the stars. "Beware the moment when past and present meet, for that is when all time becomes vulnerable." A sudden howl pierced the forest. "Not a wolf! Something deeper! Something wrong! Go!" Firenze urged. "She's already begun!" Albus and Scorpius ran through the trees, their breath rising in clouds, clutching the shard tightly as it pulsed with a warning. Somewhere across time, Delphini had made her first move, and the war for the future had begun.